The GUI camera, if we place one inside the scene here, um, we've used it, but we haven't actually talked about it here yet. So a couple of things to take note of. The GUI camera is going to be whatever size the screen is you're working on. The intended goal is that the whether you're working eventually when it's on mobile devices and things as well, you could be on a small screen working on it, and it's always going to be in the right place or placement so that if it goes to a big screen, you're still going to get something that you were expecting with it. But in terms of controls for the GUI, if you click on the GUI camera, you'll have a option for tile visible, meaning this tile, and then you can have the offset to move it forward and backward. The show in game, show in editor is going to be whether you turn the entire thing on or off. So to see those, we've kind of looked at it before, but just so you can make sure you understand it, is that here's the GUI on screen right now. So in edit mode, if I wanted to actually turn it where I don't see this one, you can say show in editor and turn it off this way. We can toggle it back on if whenever we want to see it. Show in game, you could do it. You can use it where it's turned on or off that way as well. All right. So a couple other more properties with the GUI is just going to be the grid. So the border that goes around here, you have a border width that goes out like this. This is your working space, and working space meaning as long as a tile is connected to it. So if we go out of it here, as long as this tile is connected to it, it's always going to stay with it. So no matter how big the screen is, so if your screen, if we weren't in full screen mode and we started to shrink it, the size of the screen is going to start shrinking, but your workspace, you're always going to have that workspace available to stay with it. And the reason for it is that you may have an animation where your animation starts here and then it plays in terms of like coming out, it goes out and then locks into a corner or something similar to that. So the workspace eventually will become a very important thing. It currently is, but it usability, once the animation and things are in, then you'll start to kind of see why we want to be able to do it that way. Other things though, so if I go back to the camera, we have the workspace right there. Also we have the color for both. So if you want, if you're looking to make it a solid panel, you can make it a solid panel. If you're wanting to make this a solid color, you can make it a solid color like that. And then this may be something more similar to what you want to work with, is a flat fill to it. If you want to go for, you could even go for black on this one if you wanted to, and then have it set up like that. So whatever direction you want to go for, it'll be kind of set up to make it as easy as possible to change those two spots on it. Alright, so that's going to be the basic setup for the GUI camera. The other thing just to keep in mind is that cameras are aware of each other in terms of, let me place this one over here. If I have a GUI camera here and I move it over here, it sees the GUI tile, but it doesn't belong to the GUI tile. So if you want this one to be a part of this panel, you have to just drag it over to it. So once it's stuck onto one camera, it'll just stay on that camera until you decide to move it to a different one. Alright, so that's going to be the basic setup pieces for these. We'll look at one more element in terms of the depth for the camera coming up on the next one.